Hello, and welcome back to Pillars of Eternity. Let's see, what do we have left? We have the White March. For the quest, we have the Battle of Yenwood Field. Or maybe we can go to the Twin Elms, because this is the part of the map we haven't discovered at all. I mean,
Alright.
either has his answer, if Alof has his answer. So you do believe that everyone deserves to have... Oh no, but because we cannot deal with this. I don't have a thing to deal with that. So let's go to the White March. Yes! The part is considered high level for the content in the White March. Really? If you would like, the critical path can be increased in difficulty to give you more of a challenge. The rewards you receive will be the same regardless of the options, so I would like to stand on the standard level.
You set out for Stalwart. The White March rises up in the distance, stretching to the north and south as far as the eye can see. It beckons to you with peaks like broken fingers. The road thins to a tattered ribbon, and the shadow of the mountains falls across your path. You've barely begun your climb when the darkening sky pummels you with hailstones and turns the ground beneath you to ice. You press on. The air grows thin, and the treacherous mountain passes funnel screeching winds past your ears. A blizzard forces you to make camp for 3 days, huddling for safety while snow piles around your refuge. At last the weather clears, and you approach Stalwart under a crisp blue sky. There's a noise, high and sharp, coming from the village that sounds at first like another frozen gale. But when you top the rise and reach the village's wooden gates, you see what lies beyond them.
It's Darzir, with a whole pack of them!
We can take
On
these
the
bastards!
other hand, I think I would rather go back home.
Quickly, seal
He has a cannon.
Parathis! You're not getting through me. Of course.
Okay, let's try helping others. And of course the stuff is happening at the keep. Why wouldn't it?
Look out! More of them by the fishery!
Fishery, you mean those? Yep.
quickly, seal this meat.
You even have giant wolves? That is mine, thank you.
Quickly, seal this meat.
We need help! This way!
But I want to see what's this way. Oh, you see another wolf?
Quickly, seal this meat. Quickly, seal this meat.
Thank you.
Quickly, seal this meat.
Nah, leave it to me!
Yep, no problem.
Quefe silas mihi.
Oh, they hurt. Oh, 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 oh.
Aztec burn that rock!
Moen ixi ana.
Awaken!
Let's burn this away.
Is alive? No.
Stand together!
You're not getting through me.
Dead on!
This one was very tough.
Quefe silas mihi.
Darthir's fallen. Back to the matron now.
You're the one of Unraveled sent for. She will want to speak with you. Her house is just up the way, next to Griff's Rest. The messenger pants, waving smoke away from his face. Okay.
Baby's house is burning! Hurry! They're both in there! Help! The hut's coming down!
The roof of the hut is almost entirely enveloped in flames, lightening the snow in stark orange hues. Several beams have been reduced to ember-dotted husks. Through the hut's threshold you can see only billowing smoke. Fire roars as it climbs the timbers. The air feels thick and hot, and the building is a maze of flame. Withstanding the smoke and navigating the fire will be a challenge. Sagani? Sagani leaps over the burning threshold, plunging out of sight behind the wall of smoke. Inside the house, fire has pitted the walls and beams, and a thick haze rolls through the building. It is hard to see even a few feet ahead, save for the occasional glimpse of glowing embers. Crouch down and avoid the smoke. Sagani moves onward, through a haze of heat and soot. The hut groans and shifts as the blaze grows. Above, a beam begins to sag, threatening to crash down into the corridor. From just ahead comes a faint sound of a voice, calling for help. Prop up the beam with another log. Looking around quickly, Sagani notices a piece of fallen timber that seems just low enough to work. Sagani heaves it up and sets it against the sagging beam. The makeshift prop holds for the moment, allowing safe passage. Despite the smoke and flames, Sagani remains unharmed and unhindered for the moment. Pressing forward, Sagani comes at last to a wider room. To the left is a man, the source of the faint cries for help. He stands trapped behind a curtain of flame, arms raised to ward off the heat. It may be impossible to reach him without quenching the fires first. To the right, a woman lies unconscious beneath what appears to have once been the roof. She's small, but the rubble trapping her looks heavy. Smoke winds its way up and out into the open air, obscuring all sight of the outside. And examining the situation to the left. Help! Please, help me! A man dressed in the haphazard armor of a local guard stands trapped at one side of the house. Fire has worked its way across the floorboards, blocking all escape. Try to reach man through the flames. Sagani moves towards him, but the flames scald Sagani's arms. The man also tries to move towards Sagani, but the flames rise higher and block his path. Turn away to help the woman. Sagani approaches the other victim. The smoke has gotten thick. Sagani begins coughing, but is able to press on. This woman is trapped beneath a considerable amount of rubble, including a heavy cross beam. A purpling bruise on her temple suggests that she was struck as the debris fell. Use a pry bar to clear the rubble. Sagani sets the pry bar against a section of the crossbeam and, using every ounce of strength, strains to leave it clear. After a period of fruitless struggle, the beam finally begins to rise by slow degrees. With one great and final effort, Sagani heaves the last of the rubble clear of the woman. Though still unconscious, the woman is free of the rubble and can now be moved, carrying her out. The woman is of slight frame, and carrying her proves easier than freeing her from the rubble. Sagani hoists her carefully into a shoulder, retreat to the exit. Beset by smoke, clogged air and burning debris, Sagani finds the ordeal taking its toll. Still Sagani presses on, determined. Keeping a firm hold upon the unconscious woman, Sagani turns for the exit. Sagani races past the unsteady beam for a second time. The timbers crash down a scant few seconds after Sagani passes through. The smoke clouds Sagani's vision and makes it difficult to breathe, but Sagani staggers onward. At last, Sagani comes to the door, rushing out of the blaze and into the mountain air.
Katie, thank the gods you saved her.
I was sure that thing was coming down and taking your friend with it. The man wipes his brow and stares up at the collapsing house. At least you got Katie out when you did. As for poor Lurgo there, his eyes widens as a section of the roof collapses. He looks away, shaking his head. You look like you used a drink. Take this over to Hefrix and have one on me. He flips you a couple flat, carved bones. You see a middle-aged woman and a younger man locked in an argument. Both wore clothes streaked with blood and dirt. The young man turns to the woman, a fresh cut visible below his eye.
They've destroyed the stockade, Mother. It's...
Enough. They're gone.
She holds up a hand which is missing the final joint of the ring finger, but it's her voice, sharp and steely, that silences the young man. As he glowers at his toes, she turns to you with dark circles under her eyes, and a smile pulled taut across her thin lips.
The deliverer of Cadnua. Thank you for making the journey. Abidan knows it's a long one. Well, I'm sure you wagered on a more civilized welcome. Still, we're much obliged for your capable intervention.
She shoots the young man a brief, but stern glare. He pulls a knife from his belt and an apple from his pocket and sets to work. It was no trouble. I'm here to help however I can.
Then perhaps you can help us find something.
She folds the page in her hand with a quick and merciless pinch.
Stalwart isn't much more than a grease stain on a map. What roads we've got in the White March are basically tracks in the snow. And for every trader or adventurer that comes through, 3 of our own leave for good. But it weren't always so. There was a time when kings and queens sent their firstborn to these mountains, when the White March was the envy of empires.
Her eyes shine, and for an instant she looks like a much younger woman. How the mighty have fallen. What does this have to do with me?
The Pargrin dwarves transformed the White March once. We could bring some of that greatness back to Stalwart. But we need the White Forge.
She raises the map and taps a spot in the middle of a white and grey expanse. I know of it.
Then you'll know that no one's felt as much as a summery breeze from the White Forge for over 200 years.
She smooths the creased map.
I'm hoping you can do something about that.
She ignores the young man who shakes his head at the crackling logs. How so?
We've been trying to breach Durgan's battery for over a year now. Problem is, the other expeditions can't so much as dent the front door.
She wraps at her fatigue-shadowed eyes. Tell me about these other expeditions.
A dozen different groups have come through at our request, and several more besides. Been hoping that one of them could clear the way through Durgan's battery. But young or old, green or seasoned, it don't seem to matter. They cast their spells, chisel at the door, and search the grounds until they've worn new treads into the old stone. The lucky ones eventually go home. Plenty more find themselves on the wrong side of a blizzard, or an ogre raiding party.
Why the sudden interest in the White Forge?
We're an old mining town. Or we were until the Adirans pulled out and left us with a half-dug mine shaft and something resembling an inn.
She thumbs the sturdy wooden wall with her fist.
Since then, it's been a steady decline. You've seen the roads. Isn't much we can produce that the Valians can't ship cheaper. But the White Forge... well, if we could fire it up again and start producing Durgan steel, or something close to it, wouldn't matter if we're in the White March or the Living Lands, business would come.
She folds her arms and gives you a stiff nod. The young man says nothing, but he tosses a sliver of the apple peel into the fireplace. And that's why you need my help.
That's the long and short of it. We're laborers and fisherfolk, not adventurers. But Durgan Steel could put Stalwart on the map again, open up the mines, bring in new business. We just need the White Forge.
She thumbs the desk with her fist. Why is Durgan Steel so special?
Because you can shave stone with it, cleave cast iron in two, and the stuff's as rare as it is remarkable.
In her enthusiasm, Gill shifts on the balls of her feet. She props one bent arm on the other, pointing distractedly toward the eaves of the house. If you had a suit of armor made out of that, bet people would get tired of trying to stab you after a while and just give up.
If we could make something even half as good, we'd have a market at our doorstep and work enough for all of Stalwart.
For a split second, her gaze flickers to Ulrich. How is it no one's gotten into Durgan's battery yet?
Where should I start? Ogres, blizzards, or sheer damned inaccessibility?
She ticks the items off on her fingers.
It ain't for lack of trying, I'll tell you that much. Got untold riches in Durgan Steel lying just inside, and never mind the White Forge itself. The Adirans who first settled Stalwart tried to crack it. So did the Valians, and every other cocky adventurer with more metal than sense.
She folds her arms, shaking her head at a pitted floorboard.
But the place has a funny way of sealing itself up. Front door stays shut, the tower entrances are clogged with rubble, and it's been impossible to blast a way in.
Renegade trails off, and for a moment the room is silent but for the popping and crackling of the fire. What happened to Durgan's battery?
It don't bear dwelling on. There's too many superstitions about that place as it is.
She waves her mangled hand in a broad crescent, averting her gaze.
Killed each other off. Or so the old books say.
He glares at Gill through hooded eyes.
Plenty of tales to go around, but none of them open the battery. And the last thing people need is another reason to fear the place. Whatever it was, the other Pargrin dwarven settlements in the White March, Bone Picker, the Hawk, and the rest, emptied out not long after, moved to gentler, greener lands.
Had the right idea, if you ask me.
I don't see why you need the White Forge to make good steel.
Finally, someone talking sense.
He raises his knife and half-peeled apples to the fire in a dramatic gesture of exasperation.
Durgan Steel wasn't just good. It was some of the best. We need the best if we're going to keep Stalwart alive.
She glares at Ulrich even while she speaks to you.
No one alive today has seen the White Forge, but the old stories tell that it was powerful, glowed white-hot, and gave off a steady, even heat, unlike any other furnace. Let better-schooled folk puzzle over how the thing was built. I just want to see it put to use.
Tell me about the Parkland dwarfs.
Pargrin's a word in their language. Means traveler. They've been wanderers for generations, but I couldn't tell you much more.
All right. Any idea of where I should begin?
The battery's up the mountain to the north. A good hike away.
She jerks her head in the direction of the slope behind the house.
Near Galvino's place, huh?
Ulrich says in a breezy tone, but Gill falls suddenly silent, consideration hardening the lines on her face. He smiles and draws his knife across the apple again.
So it is. Though I was going to suggest dealing with that ogre camp before anything.
She compresses her thin lips into a frown. Who's Galvino?
Mestre Galvino, as the old crosspatch prefers it, lives by himself and keeps the wilder and beasts at bay through sheer foulness of his temper.
She means to say he's a skilled smith and animancer, who's lived in the shadow of Durgan's battery for over a decade.
He looks over his shoulder at you and Unraveled. I would say that's worth mentioning. Sagani folds her arms.
And he butters his bread on both sides and fits his left shoe before his right. But that's neither here nor there.
She crosses her arms and crumples the page in one tightening fist. It seems odd that he lives out in the wilderness by himself.
Not doing much worse than any of us.
Odric speaks to you, but his eyes are fixed on Unraveled in solemn mischief.
Huh. He wore out his welcome in Stalwart. He's better off with ogres and Lagufoth as his neighbors now.
What happened with Galvino?
Old lunatic finally went too far. And we sent word to the Valiant Academies. I don't like speaking on it, but if you want to get his guff, just remind him that we gave him the boot.
I see.
Ain't nobody here fond of the man, but he's a clever hand and a quick study. It's a fool who thinks he stayed so close to the battery without figuring something about it.
You said as much to the last party, and we haven't seen hide nor hair of him since. Maybe they didn't run afoul of Baragon's ogres after all.
She raises a grey eyebrow at him. Aldrich shrugs and turns back to the fire.
Just watch your step. Galvino's place is a ways east of the battery, and folk who pass it bring unsettling tales.
Tell me about the ogre camp.
Belongs to Flames That Whisper, Matron Baragon's clan. Hunters tell me they've been active of late.
Hunting elk and otherwise minding their own damn business.
He pops an apple and wedge into his mouth and chews aggressively.
Minding their own business. Never mind the latest expedition's disappearance, or the broken stockade.
She pinches the bridge of her nose, squinting.
I'm saying we shouldn't agitate him further.
He makes to toss another slice of peel into the fire, but he fumbles and drops his knife. He bends to pick it up, cursing. What does this matron have to do with anything?
The brawl outside was just the latest patch of trouble. The ogre clans are getting bolder, and we'll all sleep easier knowing they aren't circling our walls. Also, Baragons like to have whatever the last expedition found. Rumor has it they disappeared near her turf.
She crosses her arms and looks over to Aldrich.
Killing a matron will only make our problems worse. The way to approach Baragon is with your hands held high.
If anyone could parley with an ogre, I suppose it'd be you. But they aren't known for their patience with prattle.
Got it.
Good. Before you leave town, stop by the Grave's Rest. Most visitors to Stalwart spend some time there, so Hafric and his patrons may be able to give you the lay of the land.
Thank you. Don't know about you, but I'm part all of a sudden. Actually, I would like to talk to you. Oh, not this. Eh.
Something else you need?
Do you know anything about Durgan's battery? Anything else?
It's a fool's hope. A fantasy that's kept these parts inhabited longer than they should be.
He glances around the old house and its worn furnishings.
They say the Pargrunan dwarves developed Durgan's steel, became powerful, rich, and then one day, they locked their doors and died.
He shrugs, turning his palms toward you.
Nothing like a mystery to stir folk up. Most of Stalwart is convinced that some Pargrin secret will save us all. But that don't stop them from whispering a prayer when they pass the old fortress.
A sour smirk crosses his lips. Earlier you said I should make peace with Matron Baragon.
About the only thing folk here haven't tried. Killing one more matron won't change things for long.
He shakes his head.
Besides, her clan's Flames That Whisper. The one that attacked us was Wolf with many mouths. I'd know him anywhere.
They're cut from the same cloth, Aldrich. Only a matter of time before Baragon marches through that gap in our walls.
At the sound of Renegil's voice, Aldrich's shoulders stiffen. His jaws works in a silent but furious retort. You seem to disagree with Renegil on quite a few matters.
Mother's convinced that a magic forge will turn this frozen crack into a hub of civilization. She can't accept this place is dying.
This is your home. You can't just give up on it.
Give up on what? There's nothing here.
He scrapes the sole of his boot on the straight but weathered floorboards. What do you do here?
I'm a carpenter. Mother's a builder. So it felt like a good fit at the time.
He presses his lips into a wry frown.
Not that we've got a lot of new folk to build houses and furnishings for. These days, I spend most of my time fixing up the stockade.
Okay, thank you. Okay, give me a moment. What do we have here? Really? Give this. Resolve that the gliding key agents have infiltrated the strong and will attack the Great Hall soon. Oh. Anders barreled. An Erdirian dignitary has arrived at the stronghold. He requests your aid with the upcoming meeting with representatives of the Fisher Crane track near the... Okay.
This place feels hollow. More memory than substance.
Let's talk with some people here, then we'll go back to Capnor. The man is sweating despite the cold. He opens his mouth to speak, but all that comes out is a loud, hacking cough. He bends forward, bracing his hands on his thighs, while he heaves and grasps. After a lengthy duration, he raises a finger, still panting. Oh, efforts of damn fool sent me to the other side of town, looking for you. At last he stands again. He wipes his dripping brow with the back of his hand and then offers that hand to you in greeting. Pleasure to meet you. I'm the captain of the militia around here. Nice to meet you. I wanted to catch you before you went running off into the wilds. See, there's a few dangerous folk you might be on the lookout for. Plus, if you're heading out to Longwood Falls, I thought you might could pick up a thermal pearl for me. He looks away and twists the toe of his boot into the snow. You want me to find a thermal pearl for you? That's the thing. I already found it. I just need someone else to go out and get it. Saw it in the hot springs up near Longwood Falls. Would have grabbed it myself, but that's when I looked around and saw the lang with. Must have been 50 of them. He spreads his arms wide. I would have fought, but I started to wonder what the rest of Stalwart would do without me, so I ran. For the sake of the village, of course. What is the thermal pearl, anyway? They form in the hot springs, something to do with all the minerals in the water. Smell kind of honey, but they're full of minerals. Just have to crumble them into pint. He grins, and you notice that his gums are bleeding. They cure scurvy. Like I said, the pearls in one of the thermal pools in Longwood Falls. Shouldn't be hard to spot. Tell me more about Longwood Falls. It's east of Stalwart. Got some nice views of the valley, but most folks avoid it these days. Plenty of wilder nearby, and it only takes a few inches of snow to block the pass. If you're heading out that way, I would suggest talking to Firsk. He might have something to help you deal with the Lagufef. Okay. Stop by Tursk's place before you leave town. His is the house next to the mines. He's a veteran hunter who knows the wilds better than anyone. You said something about dangerous folk in the wilderness? We get our share of crazies out here. Most of them aren't even from the village. He laughs like his own joke. Latest groups I've heard of were the Gleaming Society and the Sisterhood of the Lake Skull. But from their guild set aside some bounty money to see that these troublemakers were taken care of. You bring me the heads of their leaders and I'll give you the payment. I want to know about the Gleaming Society. Crazy pack of radicals that want to topple governments and kill the wealthy. Makes the War of Defiance look like a food fight. Duke Ivar and the Regent of Redseras both declared them illegal, which is probably the only thing those two would agree on. Anyway, check Longwood Falls to the east. That's where they were last seen. Who is the Sisterhood of the Slaked Skull? That will be Mezcla. All of the members of the Sisterhood worship Barath by sending as many folk back to the wheel as they can. He shivers. They've been poking around Durkan's battery, and Whale only knows why. But you can understand why no one around here was pleased to hear about it. Passed through town recently. Didn't stay long, but they stopped at the Temple of Ondra. You might see if Lavdad knows something. If you come across them, be careful. They're unpredictable. Okay, thank you.
Don't see the harm. Building's thirsty work.
This one starts visibly at the side of you, though he attempts to hide it with a queasy smile.
Say, You're the one we have to thank for fighting off the ogres, right? Never thought I'd see one of the god-touched. I would have helped fight them monsters off, you know, if I didn't think I'd just get in the way. And with you there to handle things, everything turned out well enough, didn't it? Don't see why Havrick's still sour at me.
What's this about Havrick?
Oh, Havrick's the innkeeper over at the Grave's Rest. I may have been hiding in the inn when the fighting started. The raid didn't improve his disposition any. Did you know he has a whole case of Fenland liquor in there? I keep offering to buy it off him, but he says he's saving it up for when the battery's open again. As if we're gonna last that long. Anyhow, he said he'd thrash me up and down the mountain if I didn't leave him be.
You hid away while everyone else risked their lives.
That's, that's what Havrick said, actually. Look, I'm not proud of it, but I'm no warrior. What am I gonna do? Throw a net on them?
And now you're worried about some fancy drink.
They say a single drop changes your life. You'll never want to have a drink of anything else. Probably that's all rubbish, but it's supposed to be very good.
I see.
It's delusional is what it is. Point of fact, what with you dealing with ogres and everything, maybe you'd, you know, be willing to help me out.
From saving the town to swiping liquor, there's progress for you.
Havrick keeps all the good stock in the inn cellar. Out of sight, you see. I mean, it's bound to be under lock and key, but I'm sure he wouldn't miss a single bottle. Not with everything that's going on.
What does stealing wine for you have to do with fighting ogres?
Well, Havrick can be a little intimidating when it comes to his beverages. But otherwise, not much, I guess.
I'm not going to rob the innkeeper for you.
Shh, all right, keep it down. I didn't mean anything by it. But if you happen to come across some, then maybe you could share?
I can buy some after the battery is open. Jeez.
If it's okay, I'm gonna wait by that fire there while you do that thing with the battery.
Sure. Okay. I didn't know if Bart was the name or...
Still can't feel my fingers. Thought I'd found shelter when I stumbled across this little village. Guessing you did too, huh?
Vera raises a frosty mug to you. Even though the warmth of the hearth reaches you here, her hands are wrapped in rare wool and her ears muffled by a hat. Her face has the taut, wind-beaten look of someone who's recently come from the road.
As much blood as there was in the streets, I'm lucky the ale's still flowing.
She takes a drink, and she tilts her head back. You see a bruise purpling her jaw and a crimson bloom of scraped knuckles. What exactly happened to you?
Thought all the whispers about Durgan's battery were just village superstition. And maybe they are. But I might have been on my guard if I'd listened. I was part of an expedition, hunting for relics from Durgan's battery. And picked up a good haul, too.
She takes a slow swallow of her beer.
So it figures that's when the winds pick up and the sky starts dumping snow. We lost sight of the road. Meanwhile, something else found us. Took Liam out before we even realized we were surrounded. And then we see him coming out of the snow. These little four-armed wilder. Lagufoth, they're called.
She shakes her head, staring at the embers in the fire pit.
Quick little bastards. Francesca and I held them off as long as we could, but when they filled her full of darts, I turned tail and ran. Found my way here and thanked my luck for escaping the Lagufoth. Then come to find out that this town's got an ogre problem.
She laughs bitterly. What are you going to do now?
I need to get those artifacts. Not that I'm in any shape to go after them myself. But I can't afford to return to Defiance Bay without something to show for my expedition.
Apprehension creeps into her expression. She stares into her mug, swirling its contents.
But you've got your own expedition to the battery, don't you? While you're out there, maybe you could look for my goods. Whatever's left of them.
She looks up from her mug, hopefully.
I'll give you a cut for anything you bring back, of course. I ain't asking for charity. I just can't afford to go home empty-handed.
She brushes her nails along the side of her mug as that anxious look returns. Tell me what you're looking for.
Like I said, we were treasure hunting near Durgan's battery when we were ambushed. What else do you want to know?
Renegil told me that another expedition came through before I arrived. Was that you?
Who? No, that would have been somebody else. We didn't meet with Renengild, or anyone else in town for that matter. We were operating on our own.
She looks into the fire pit, taking another drink. Why are these relics so important to you?
We took out several loans to pay for our trip out here. I'm gonna have trouble if I don't pay them back.
She scratches the back of her neck. Remind me where I can find your caravan.
What's left of it should be near Durgan's battery. If you stumble across the Loguthoth, you'll know you're close.
What do you know about the Durgan's battery?
Just that it's been locked up tight for 200 years on account of those dwarves having a row.
She shrugs.
Which means that any trinkets from inside fetch a nice price. Sorry, I'm more of a businesswoman than a historian.
Okay, goodbye. I have two more people with names. Hey there, good timing. You can watch me trounce Birthran. We used to play a game like this in Nasuk. Good fun. Alf frowns. Looks like you could wait to lose a finger. Once, Andred, you won once. What are you playing? Olin's head. Andred grins sheepishly. That's what they call it. Anyhow. Smooth. You pick a target, see? Nose or ears. Nose is worth more, but you've got 2 ears to work with. You get less points for the further out from the target you get. So, for the mouth and eyes, no points if you miss. Fancy a game? 3 throws each, and whoever gets the most points by the end of it wins the wager. I'll put down £50, if you will. Sure, let's play. Andred pulls a furry knife from his belt, turning it over in his hands. Wager £50. You in? Sure. Lovely. I'll go first, just to show you how it's done. Andred aims carefully and throws his blade. Okay. The knife hits the skin, scoring 1. Andred walks up to retrieve the knife. Your turn. Aim for the nose. The knife hits the mouth, scoring 5. Andred aims carefully and throws his blade. The knife hits the ear, scoring 7. Your turn. Aim for the ears. The knife hits the ear, scoring 7. Aim for the nose. That's 70 for you and 18 for me. The game's mine. The coin too, Andres snickers. Come on, back if you want to try again. I wonder how luck-based it is.
Rowena! Go check on that Orlan. Make sure he don't steal nothing. Never seen such a bloodbath. Feels like we got half the town's survivors in here, just drinking to forget it.
The dwarf surveys the crowd, his expression sober despite the half-empty flagon in his hand. He shakes his head and looks to you, remembering himself.
But you must be looking for some refreshment, too, after the way you handled them ogres. Or perhaps a room. Say the word and I'll give that shifty little Orlan the boot.
He knows that you with Graf, Kammerdner. What Orlan?
Showed up a few days ago. Sticks his nose out of the back room just long enough to empty his chamber pot.
He squints toward the hall as if daring the room to show himself.
Up to no good, I tell ya. I'd like nothing more than to see him gone, but I don't want to ruckus over it.
What makes you so sure his trouble?
We get our share of lowlifes coming through here. Smugglers, fugitives, Kith looking to avoid the sharp eye of the law. Ways keeping to himself. Well, honest Kith sure don't have cause for it.
I could talk to him.
Don't hurt him or anything. I just want him to leave peacefully. Given your history, I thought I'd be clear on that point.
Hey! He gives you a meaningful look.
Back to warm your hands, eh? What can I do for you?
I thought you might want to know that Raffles asked me to steal your liquor.
He did he? That shifty little crook never learns. I'll have it put away somewhere safe. Thank you for doing the decent thing. Here, for your honesty.
You're welcome. But I would like to
Back to warm your hands, eh? What can I do for you?
no, I cannot say that. Yes,
Back
but I
to
want
warm your hands, eh?
refreshments. Ella flings in and whispers, "Are you sure, Evna? I think I saw a fish head floating in the stew pot."
Nothing like a pint to take the chill off.
I wanted to buy some rations. And some lockpicks. And some cheese. And some jerky. I should really use potions more. Thanks. Any organs here? No.
Excuse me, was there something you need?
She knits her fingers together and looks intently at the floor. Are you stealing?
Not to be rude, but I'm rather busy. Can't you get another room?
The Orlan turns and glances past you with a quick, nervous motion. His ears, shredded and scalped at the edges, are pressed against his skull. This one hides something. His mind is a maze of fear. Hefric sent me to check on you. He dislikes Orlan, so of course he thinks you're up to something.
He... what? Oh no. No.
He runs his claws through his hair and tugs at his long, ragged ears. Can't imagine why he would think a thing like that.
Is she there? Did you see her?
He leans around you, peering at the doorway. Who are you talking about?
Devala. That woman. The slaver, she...
He swallows.
I was a slave in Raid Ceres. I ran away. Made it here. The mountains are usually the best place to lose slavers, but Devala's one of the best.
His hands tremble as he pecks at his worn tunic. I'm so sorry. Can I help?
I just want to get out of here. I've scraped together enough money to reach New Haelmar.
New Haelmar? That's hardly an improvement. He stops himself, eyes wide. I mean, it's lovely. You'll love it.
But the locals talk about a Raid Saren party, camped west of town.
He worries at the ragged shirt sleeve.
It's got to be Devala. She's been after me since the foothills. I'll pay you if you can get rid of her. I don't care how.
We'll see.
Something I can do for you? Hafric's got me straightening the rooms, but I'll help you if I can.
I still don't trust her. Okay, you... And you still don't have that.
You must gather your party.
Yes, I know, thinking.
All right, then.
Okay, before we start gambling, I'll end this part here, so for now, thank you very much. Stay alive, and see you soon. Bye.